The information provided on this podcast is intended for general informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While we discuss topics related to vegan health, diet, and fitness, always consult with a qualified healthcare provider or a registered dietitian before making any changes to your diet, fitness routine, or lifestyle, especially if you have existing health conditions.
Welcome to Good Vegan Meal, the podcast for lifelong vegans, people wanting to become vegan, or those interested in vegan living. We're here to make your lives better by giving you the information you need to succeed in your compassionate vegan lifestyle.
Today, we're diving into something that affects, well, pretty much everyone. How what you eat really shapes that incredible world living inside your gut. You've brought some really fascinating sources this time, detailed scientific reviews, practical health articles, all looking at this link between diet, especially plant-based eating, and the gut microbiome. So our mission today is to unpack this complex relationship. We'll highlight some surprising facts, some really actionable insights, hopefully some aha moments for you.
Absolutely. And what's so striking from the research is just how immediate and long-term the impact of our food choices actually is. We'll be digging into findings from some really big studies. One had, over 21,000 people?
Wow.
Yeah, looking at the distinct microbial signatures you get with omnivore, vegetarian, and vegan diets. It really poses the question, doesn't it? Can we genuinely eat our way to a healthier gut?
Okay, so let's jump right into that. That massive study you mentioned, 21,000 people across the UK, US, Italy, tracking diets, tracking gut microbes. What were the first things that jumped out? How did diet patterns show up?
Well, the main thing was how clearly the microbial profiles could distinguish between the groups. Omnivore, vegetarian, vegan. The accuracy was pretty impressive. A mean AUC of 0.85, which basically means they're highly distinguishable. They even found that telling vegans apart from omnivores, that was the easiest distinction to make prediction-wise.
That's pretty powerful. At least a real fingerprint then.
It really does.
And it wasn't just about those strict labels, was it? I remember reading they used something called the Healthful Plant-Based Diet Index, the HPDI. What did that tell us about the quality of the diets within those groups?
Exactly. That's a crucial point. The HPDI showed that on average, vegans tended to have the healthiest diets based on that index, then vegetarians, then omnivores. So it really highlights that it's not just about what you don't eat, but the overall nutritional quality of what you do eat.
Okay, that makes sense. But here's something that it seemed a bit counterintuitive to me. The study reported that species richness, just the number of different types of bacteria, was actually lower in vegetarians and vegans compared to omnivores. We always hear more diversity is better. So what gives? Does less diversity mean a less healthy gut here?
Yeah, that's a really important question. And I think the thinking is shifting a bit. Experts are kind of moving beyond just alpha diversity, like species richness, as the sort of be-all and end-all measure of gut health. I mean, having a huge number of different species isn't automatically good if a lot of them are, the bad guys.
Right.
It's much more about the type of microbes present, their balance, and what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
Sort of quality over quantity, you could say.
Okay, quality over quantity. So if it's about the type of microbes, what were the specific sort of microbial signatures they found for each diet? Let's start with the omnivore gut. What characterizes that?
Sure. So the research pointed to a few key microbes being more common in omnivores. You see things like Elastipes putridinus, the ones involved in breaking down protein, and Balaflo wadsworthia, which is linked to handling bile acids, often more needed with higher fat intake. But here's where it gets particularly interesting or maybe concerning. Omnivores also had higher levels of bacteria that are often associated with inflammation, things like Rhamnococcus torx. That one's been linked in some studies to inflammatory bowel diseases, even colorectal cancer. And these kinds of microbes correlated pretty strongly with eating red meat and generally with less favorable cardiometabolic health markers.
That definitely sounds like a potential downside to track.
Yeah.
So flipping that, what about the vegan signature? What kind of gut community do you build primarily on plants?
Oh, the vegan gut microbiome shows a really clear specialization. Fiber fermentation. Vegans had significantly more species like Legnospiraceae, Beta species, Roseburia hominis. These are all well-known fiber degraders. And their job is to produce short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs.
Right, the beneficial one.
Exactly. They're incredibly good for us. They feed the cells lining the gut. They help reduce inflammation. They play a role in maintaining healthy blood sugar. It's like Dr. Hanna Kaliova said, basically, eat more plants. They've got the fiber that boosts your gut microbes and your metabolic health. Simple as that, really.
Makes sense. Okay, and what about vegetarians? Sitting somewhere in between, often eating dairy, maybe eggs, but no meat or fish. Does their microbiome reflect that middle ground?
Yes, it generally does. The vegetarian gut often showed an intermediate profile between the omnivores and vegans. Perhaps the most striking difference they found between vegetarians and vegans was the higher amount of Streptococcus thermophilus in vegetarians.
Oh, the yogurt bacteria.
That's the one. It's really common in fermented dairy like yogurt, so it clearly highlights how just including dairy shapes the gut environment. Other dairy-linked bacteria like Lactobacillus acidophilus and Lactococcus lactis also help distinguish vegetarians and omnivores from the vegans in the study.
This is where it gets really fascinating, I think. The study also found that diet quality could actually cut across those stripped labels. An omnivore eating lots of plants could share features with a vegan. What does that tell us?
It tells us that the overall dietary pattern, the quality, is incredibly important, maybe even more so than just the label itself. An omnivore who focuses on a high-quality plant-rich diet can absolutely develop a gut microbiome that shares beneficial features with a healthy vegan gut. It just underscores that it's not solely about the easyism, veganism, vegetarianism, but about what's actually, on your plate day to day, the diversity of plants you eat. And that raises a really good question for you, the listener. Regardless of your label, how diverse are the plant foods in your diet? Are you getting a good mix?
That's a great point. And speaking of what's on your plate, some microbes might just be passengers, hitching a ride from the food itself. What did the research find about this food-to-gut transmission?
Yeah, that's a really cool aspect. They used a database of microbes found in food and compared it to the gut microbes. They found that vegans generally had the fewest types of these food-associated bacteria that seem to have set up shop in their gut.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
It seems largely because they don't eat dairy. Dairy products contribute quite significantly to this kind of species sharing from food to gut. Vegetarians and omnivores, since they both typically consume dairy, had a similar higher number of these food-derived bacteria compared to vegans.
Okay, so dairy brings in its own crowd. What about microbes from plants then? Are we getting bacteria from our fruits and veggies too?
Oh, definitely. Bacteria linked to fruits and vegetables were found across all three groups, but they were, perhaps unsurprisingly, more common in vegans. What was really neat is they even identified some soil microbes, like Enterobacter hormeaceae and Citrobacter frundi, in the vegan guts.
Soil microbes? Seriously?
Yeah, microbes that are known to help plants grow in agriculture. It suggests this direct link, from the farm, maybe the soil on the produce, right into our gut. It's worth adding a little caution here, though. Some of these environmental microbes can be opportunistic pathogens in certain contexts, so their exact role in human health is still something researchers are figuring out. It's not automatically all good.
Right, context matters.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have these distinct signatures, these different microbial communities shaped by diet. How did this all translate into health outcomes? Specifically, the study looked at cardiometabolic health, things like BMI, blood pressure, blood fats. How did the diet stack up?
The results there were pretty clear-cut, actually. The gut microbiome signatures associated with the omnivore diet pattern were linked with less favorable cardiometabolic health outcomes overall. Conversely, the vegan diet signatures were associated with the most favorable outcomes.
And vegetarians?
Vegetarians, again, generally fell into an intermediate position. Their outcomes were typically better than the omnivores, but not quite as favorable on average as the vegans in this study.
Okay, so that's cardiometabolic health. Did the sources mention other benefits linked to plant-based diets and the gut connection, maybe things beyond heart health and metabolism?
Yes, definitely. If we zoom out a bit, other research connects vegan diets to significant improvements in metabolic syndrome. Markers, more broadly weight loss, better blood glucose control, lower total, and LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol. There's also the reduction in cardiovascular disease risk factors, like lowering TMAO levels that compound often linked to red meat.
Ah, yes, TMAO.
And even in seemingly unrelated areas like inflammation. One source mentioned studies on rheumatoid arthritis where patients switching to a vegan diet saw decreased disease activity and shifts in their gut flora seemed to be a key factor. There's also some early emerging research exploring links with the gut-brain axis and conditions like Parkinson's disease, but that's still very much an area needing more study.
That's a really broad range of potential benefits. It sounds quite compelling. But, making a big change like going fully vegan isn't always simple. Are there potential pitfalls or things people should watch out for, specifically for their gut health, when they make that switch?
That's a very fair point. It's important to plan it well. A vegan diet, even a generally healthy one, could potentially be lower in certain nutrients that are quite supportive of gut health and are often easily found in animal products. Think things like zinc or the amino acid glutamine, maybe certain omega-3 fatty acids if you're not careful.
Okay.
You also might miss out on traditional probiotic sources like dairy yogurt, unless you seek out fortified alternatives. And for some people, especially if they have an underlying issue like fructose malabsorption or IBS, that sudden increase in fiber, even healthy fiber, could cause some initial discomfort like bloating or gas.
Right, the adjustment period.
Exactly. So it's not without potential challenges that need mindful navigation.
So that leads perfectly into the practical side. For anyone who is considering going more plant-based, or maybe already is, what are the key actionable steps to really support gut health on that path?
Okay, number one, focus on diversity of whole plant foods.
Yeah.
Your gut microbes thrive on variety, especially prebiotic fibers. That's the fuel for the good guys. Think apples, onions, garlic, beans, oats, a wide range.
Get the rainbow on your plate.
Precisely. Second, actively include vegan-friendly probiotic sources. So fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, pickled vegetables, maybe kombucha or water kefir. And look for plant-based yogurts that specifically say they contain live, active cultures.
You check the label.
Definitely check the label. Third, be mindful of those potential nutrient gaps we mentioned. You can get zinc from pumpkin seeds, beans, nuts. Glutamine is in beans, nuts, cabbage. Omega-3s are in chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, and you can also get them from algae supplements like spirulina. A simple meal planning tip some people use is thinking in thirds. About a third of your plate veggies, a third lean plant protein like beans or tofu, and a third complex carbs like brown rice or quinoa plus some healthy fats. And finally, be patient. If you do get some initial bloating or gas when you increase fiber, give your gut time to adjust. It often settles down. But if it persists or is really uncomfortable, it's always a good idea to talk to a dietitian.
Excellent advice. This whole deep dive really drives home how directly we can influence that inner world, our gut microbiome, just through our food choices. It's such a powerful reminder that we're not just eating for ourselves, are we? We're feeding this whole ecosystem inside us. And it's less about just cutting things out and more about actively cultivating a healthy gut by embracing all the amazing variety the plant kingdom offers.
Absolutely. The big picture from all these sources really emphasizes that point. Whether you happen to be an omnivore, a vegetarian, or a vegan right now, making conscious choices towards a high-quality, plant-diverse diet seems to be a key lever for influencing your gut health and ultimately your overall well-being.
So the final thought for you, our listener, as you go about your week, next time you're at the grocery store or planning your next meal, maybe think beyond just the dietary label. How could incorporating even more diverse, healthy plant foods wherever you're starting from enrich that incredible, unseen ecosystem working away inside you? What's one new plant-based food, maybe something you haven't tried before, that you could explore this week to give your beneficial gut microbes something new to feast on?
Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of Good Vegan Meal. If you loved what you heard and you're hungry for more, head over to our link tree at linktr.ee/goodveganmeal. There you can grab our free PDF 30 high-protein vegan 5-minute meals packed with quick recipes and full nutritional stats for every meal. Perfect for busy days and plant-powered gains. And if you're ready to take your vegan cooking game to the next level, check out our cookbook's 125-minute vegan meals for kids' lunches, a school lunchbox lifesaver, 185-minute vegan meals, and 7 weeks of high-protein meals with meal planning made simple with grocery lists for each week. Grab your goodies at linktr.ee/goodveganmeal, and we'll see you in the next episode.